What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to DiabloCast. It is Friday, and nice to have you all back. As always, I'm your host, Dennis Force Duhamel. With me this week, I have got Jesse Cox. Hello, Jesse.
Hello.
How are you doing this week?
Good. I just looked out the window. It's starting to snow. I didn't know winter started.
Oh yeah, I've got like a foot of snow up here. Good old Maine.
Well, see, yeah, okay. You're in like the super north. I'm a little. It's been like 50. There's a weird. I don't know what's happening in this country. There's a weird like everything. I haven't seen snow all winter long until today.
Really?
It's a sign. It's a sign of Diablo. Will rain nuggets of white wisdom. That sounds incredibly racist.
I don't. It probably has nothing to do with global warming and everything to do with Diablo's release.
Well, Diablo, he's because he's on fire.
That's right.
So global. Well,
it's all connected.
Yeah.
All right, today we're going to be discussing some new things took place this week. We got the introduction of Lore Master Nigh. Forum MVPs coming soon for the Diablo 3 forums. Bashiok went on a Twitter rampage. We'll also be talking about the map overlay, public chat channels, difficulty in Diablo 3, and then, of course, the Activision Blizzard conference call that took place yesterday. But before all that, we're going to start off with a few announcements, and the first of which is I just did another round of Let's Play videos. I'm sure if you're watching this, DiabloCast, you probably know that. I just wanted to make a brief mention of that. I got a lot of requests to do another playthrough series because we've had a whole bunch of changes, and even though the content is the same, I still wanted to, like, the general, the beta from start to finish is still the exact same, but there have been changes to spells, and then obviously we had all the changes with the removal of the Nephilim altar and the salvage cube and all that stuff. So yeah, I did a new playthrough series. If you're interested, take a look. It's all up there, not all 5 classes, barbarian through wizard. So you can see that, and it's funny because when the beta first started, we saw a flood of Diablo 3 coverage all over the place, and
now it's gone.
Yeah, and now YouTube is kind of barren. I mean, all the videos are obviously still there, but you don't see a lot of new stuff coming up, and frankly, that's because, I mean, as I said, the content is still the same, and in most cases, people are like, I don't really care to see this anymore. But there's actually, I got a decent number of hits there. On the footage, so apparently there are some people interested in it. The other thing too is you've got to figure with the 100,000 new keys that went out, there was all of a sudden a surge in like interest in the game, and so some more people taking a look there. You did your playthroughs and stuff, Jesse. You had fun doing that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a wizard. Oh my god. I did Crimnox the sorcerer.
Yes,
which was my character. And I had a female barbarian named Baby Got Back.
Yeah, that fits. It does.
Yeah, I basically played. I'm trying to remember all the characters' names, but I basically played through every single class.
Oh, did you do all 5 classes? Really?
Yeah, I don't know if all of them made it to like video form,
right.
But I played through all 5, and I was like, well, this was fun, but I think the reason why is I think somewhere around playthrough number 3, it was like, well, I don't know what other witty comments I can make about this thing because I've seen it like 12 times.
I've got nothing left to say. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. I will say that I was playing with, just for fun, with a friend, and I assume this is correct, but I don't know if this is something that you've talked about in the past, but is it true that the game changes depending on the amount of players in the game, like not like difficulty levels, but like areas you have access to. Or am I insane? Because I must have played through the the area right after New Tristram, right before like Old Tristram, where it's just open like foresty junk, but there's little shacks and. I must have played on single player like 12 times through this area. Never saw it. The very first time I played with someone else, a tree stump opens, and there's a massive dungeon underneath it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just random luck. The only thing that changes when new players enter the game, as far as I'm aware, is the difficulty of the enemies. Like, they just scale whenever a new player is added. But you just happen to get unlucky in all your single-player playthroughs.
I'm telling you, because everything would change except for that one thing. So I was like, whoa! Did they add this for multiplayer stuff? That's crazy. And then I was like, that can't be right. That can't. And then I was like, I'll go back and I'll try again. And I could never get it again.
You never found
it. Was like a one-time thing.
You're just super unlucky. You should bring along whoever you had in your co-op, because
I'm telling you,
he brings you all the sweet dungeons, evidently.
It was yeah. I was really confused, but I'm glad you've just proved that I'm an idiot and not.
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people will think that. If they start playing with co-op and they're like, oh, there's new things here, I guess, maybe it's only with co-op. It's all randomized. They've got the way it was explained is that all those types of dungeons scattered throughout the world, there's just like random pockets in those open areas. And like you explained, there's that big open foresty area right after New Tristram and before the cathedral and stuff like that.
Right.
And within that big open area, there's these little pockets that have a percentage chance of having that dungeon. And you just rolled the wrong die, I guess, whenever you went through on your single player. But when you went on with your friend, you happened to get it. So, yeah, just difficulty that scales. But that's.
It was cool. It was most of the little ones, like in the shacks or whatever, are like 2 rooms.
Yeah, those are stupid.
And this one was a giant underground maze filled with all sorts of different creatures I've never seen before in that area. I was like, what?
That's something that's pretty interesting that you touch on that too, because that's something that I've thought about. I really hope that those small kind of crappy shack areas that are literally only a room or two, I hope that's only because it's the early stage of the game. Like, I don't want to deal with these random dungeons that are just one room throughout the entire game. I hope at least like those whatever the shack equivalents are going to be in further acts, they'll be more engaging and interesting than a single room with a single zombie in it or something like that.
I don't know. I guess the theory behind that is it's supposed to be like, oh, well, you randomize this room, and then out of the random room, there's random guys in it, and out of the random guys you kill, there's random loot. So it's like basically being at a casino, and it's the luck of, I found something super special. Yeah. And there's a super special guy in here, and he dropped super special. Oh, my day is
amazing.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe we'll get that Stone of Jordan next time you go in there.
Maybe.
All right. So yeah, there's a new round of Let's Play videos if anyone's interested. Take a look at that, or you could go back and look at Jesse's initial playthroughs, get his initial thoughts on that. Do you remember what you titled it? What could they search on YouTube for Jesse Cox Diablo 3 beta playthrough?
If you just type in OMFGCATA and type in Diablo 3,
right,
you'll get. It's basically me. If you're looking for knowledgeable, it's me mostly commenting on the lore, because I'm a big lore nerd for Diablo, so that's like my thing. But if you're looking for a playthrough that has a 5-minute conversation about why Leah is so stupid and doesn't understand why Deckard Cain is brilliant.
You really don't like Leah.
I dislike that character immensely. Immensely. I just don't I have nothing problem. I have nothing problem with English language. No, I have no problem with the design. I have no problem with the dialogue. I have no problem with the voice actress. I have no problem with the It's just the character's fundamental nature of Uncle Deckard, you're angels and demons. You're crazy. It's like, look at your old town.
Yeah.
Not.
She thought it was just the neighboring villagers all dressed up. That's what she thought it all was.
So everyone in the town's like, oh, the demons are back, and she's like, oh, Uncle Deckard. The fact that is a line in the game, oh, Uncle Deckard, I just want to murder that character.
That's too funny.
I hate and despise her.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not supposed to like her initially. Think she's an idiot. And then we find out, ooh, is she Diablo? I don't know. Am I spoiling stuff? I'm just making stuff up. I don't know.
That is the biggest internet rumor.
I know, it's so funny.
Which I gotta be honest, if it is true, I am super excited, because then I'll get to kill her, which is fine by me.
That's all we really want to do.
Best ending ever.
Also wanted to let you guys know that the Battle.net balance feature is now available. We talked about it last week and how they planned on implementing it and all that stuff. They just put up a post, I think it's 4 days ago. Yeah, it was on February 6th that they put up a post that said, hey, the Battle.net balance feature is now available. And just to reiterate, your Battlenet balance is, of course, going to be tied to the real money auction house in Diablo 3. This is what the currency that you will be using to purchase items in the auction house, also to pay for fees if you're selling items, whatever like that. But wait, there's more. With it, you can also pay for World of Warcraft realm transfers, character names, other paid services when there are games. You can purchase digital versions of Blizzard games, including D2, StarCraft 2. In the future, players will also be able to use their Battlenet balance for the digital World of Warcraft battle chest, WoW digital upgrades, all sorts of stuff. So that's the post there, and I will quickly also show you. This is you can load up your account balance. Currently, there's denominations of 10, 20, 50, and 100. That's for US dollars. Obviously, those denominations would be different. I'm just assuming the equivalent is going to be the same, but different depending on what your currency is. You can also enter another amount, and then you'll charge up your Battlenet account. They also have a transaction history or balance history thing that you can take a look at as well. But yeah, if you want to now preload your Battlenet balance so that when the game goes live and you'll have tons of money to purchase all of the best gear with, you could do that, or you could use it for any of the other various services we discussed. I don't know that I'm gonna preload this at all. Jesse, is that something that you have any interest in doing?
Did they talk about the getting the money out in that?
You can't. Yep. And in fact, it says it even right here. I'll load it up right away. Price. All right. So price shown in US dollar. Right under that, there's a small little sentence. The amount you load into your account balance is non-refundable and may not be withdrawn. Period. End of sentence.
So essentially you're buying into Blizzard bucks.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're taking real money and converting it to gibberish.
No, it's not gibberish. Blizzard bucks are the best kind of bucks there is.
Yes, that's great. I'm sorry. I feel like I should be panning for a camera, ding, with the sparkly teeth, Blizzard bucks, the best bucks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I still like to have some. I still like to talk to someone at the company. I guess I'll say yes. Blizzard bucks are amazing.
Yeah.
No, but that's what it is. It's like going to an amusement park or Disney World or something where you can.
Right.
Oh yeah, buy these and you get exclusive items. Or going to a arcade. I like how I assume people still go to arcades. Go to an arcade and you had to get the tokens rather than use quarters.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm interested that they've decided to go this route instead of just using straight currency. I don't know if you've heard the rumor, but Microsoft is supposedly going to be getting rid of their Microsoft point system.
Right.
They're going back to real money. So I thought with that move, the industry was okay, we're getting away from this fake currency thing. But no, Blizzard's we're going to get started right now that everyone else is leaving it.
I don't know what their thought process is, because seeing Microsoft change is pretty I don't want to say terrific, but it's greatific. It's in between. It's that kind of all right. It took them a while, but we're good.
Well, I mean, it's nothing more than a hassle. It's an extra step towards getting what you want. If you wanted to purchase something on Xbox Live, you couldn't just send your card. You have to purchase another bundle of Microsoft points on Xbox Live and then purchase something, as opposed to just being I want to buy this. Or on Steam, you can just buy something. There's no Steam bucks or anything like that.
Right, but the thing with Microsoft is that it got out of hand.
Right.
Then it became everything associated with Microsoft uses these points.
Right.
And at that point, it was, when it got away from the gaming, that's when I use air quotes, but the older adults were what is this point system? Change this now. And they were oh, well, we have to listen. Which also I think reflects, corporations in general, where they were the gamers, they'll spend their stupid bucks. But then became well, you use it for Windows 8 and you do this with it, and then people started to complain. And they're oh, we'll change it then.
I think I only have to assume that the reason they felt this necessary and the reason that they're incorporating a Battlenet balance is going to be, of course, directly tied to the real money auction house. The biggest thing that I have to say is I think that they want a way to facilitate these transactions, because otherwise you figure with the real money auction house you need money to purchase stuff. So the only way, if they weren't facilitating it through something like their own currency system such as this, then it would be a direct tie between PayPal and the real money auction house. So what if PayPal screws something up and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? I think that what they're doing is that they're trying to shoulder any any financial issues so that they can handle it rather than having to rely on another company. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does. I think.
Or the other thing too is that with this, you don't have your card tied into the system, the real money auction house system. And let's say that's how it was played out. Let's say that you could just enter your debit or credit card information and then use that to purchase stuff on the auction house. Well, now all of a sudden your information's like on their system. So if their system ever gets compromised, there's all your card information. But this way, you're not really giving them your card information. You're just charging up an account. I think that makes sense.
I agree. I think it does. And I'm going to try and make a very valid... I've basically spent 15 minutes speaking gibberish. I just like to put that out there. So I'm going to try and make a very valid point right now and redeem myself.
One
to
sentence
listeners.
or less. Let's hear it.
Okay. I can't. That's impossible. I can't do that. I just gave up instantly. I was like, you know what? But you're derailing me is what this is. I was trying to make a valid point and contribute something to this podcast, and you immediately were like, no, just don't do that. All right. So, this is how I see this going down. Blizzard is very smart with their marketing. This isn't like this isn't some thing they just thought up. It's a genius plan. It's like the hot dog effect. Did I just say I was going to try and do something really like informative and now I'm talking about hot dogs?
No.
Basically, hot dogs are, and everyone knows this. It's a known fact. Buns, you get 8. Hot dogs will give you like 6, 12, 10, some different number. And so the idea is you always either have more hot dogs than buns or more buns than hot dogs. And so you have to keep going back to get more. Or in theory, you would keep going back to get more to sort of balance it out, right?
Right.
Well, with this, the same thing applies here. Where, I know I'm talking about freaking hot dogs. The same thing applies here where if I deposit, you said like, $10, $20, $50 increments, and then I start spending or using, eventually I'm going to end up with $3.23 or something like that. If I want to use something again, I have to put more money into it.
Right.
And if I don't, I have $3.23 just sitting there.
And that was the same frustration that I had with the Microsoft point system. The exact same thing happened.
Yeah, and I think that, from a marketing standpoint, is where I think they're going with that. I mean, it's a very shrewd maneuver, but that's kind of what I think people are doing. They're thinking at Blizzard, this is how you make money off of this system, and so people will keep putting points in.
Right.
I think Microsoft thought the exact same thing, which is true, because I would have Microsoft points just sitting there, and then I'd see something I want, I'd be like, oh, I only have 200 points, and I'd go get like 1,600 more.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'd spend those points, be like, oh, I have 400 points, what can I buy with this? I don't want to let them just sit there. I can't get them back, so I might as well spend something, right? It's that kind of thought process, and so I guarantee Blizzard is trying to go down that path. I almost 100% positively believe that in the future it'll switch. I don't know for what reason they'll give.
You
but
think just disgruntled fan base will force that?
No, I don't think people will be disgruntled. I won't be disgruntled. I'll buy the points and I'll spend them and do that stuff. I'm not, I don't think people will be mad about it. I think, because like you said, it makes it easier for protection purposes.
Yeah. I mean, it does do that, I would say. So
I wouldn't say anyone's going to get mad about it. I would say just eventually it would become, I think they'll realize it'll become easier for the player to have it as dollars than it would be for the company. Because I believe Blizzard is for all their giant corporate overlordness, really is still at heart a bunch of like solid gaming nerds.
Oh, for sure.
So I think that even though they have this, this company that they have to run and fund, that eventually it'll become, right now it's easy for them to do this, but I think eventually they'll switch to make it easier for the player. So I think this is like their opening salvo of like, this is what we'll offer and we'll go from here. So I don't have a problem with it. I just understand fundamentally where they're coming from. I mean, it's complete marketing. It's complete, like, we're trying to make a buck. And, I'm not going to hate them for it.
No, I mean, yeah, they're a business. You have to understand that. But I think at the same time, too, they're, like you said, they're also going to try to deliver the best player experience, because if they don't do that, then people don't come back and people aren't interested in their games if, no one wants to get shafted. So as long as they can maintain that a good rapport with the fan base, then I think that things like this can go over well. And I thought it was interesting that you mentioned, I'm this much short, so I got to re-up my account. I think that makes sense. I thought at the same time, too, and another effect that probably will come from this as well is kind of the gift card effect, where you get a $20 gift card, but you purchase something that's $17 and you have a $3 balance, and then you never use it.
Exactly.
I bet that's going to happen here, too. People will have unused balances, and all of a sudden Blizzard gets kind of free money from that, too.
And that's kind of that's what I was alluding to, is basically that's it. I think when it comes to gift cards in real life, right? Like if I get a gift card to, like, I don't know, where do people, like Best Buy or Starbucks, or where people buy gift cards to places. If I get a gift card and I start using it, I might have $4 left on it. If I go get a cup of coffee, a $5 cup of coffee, right? I can still use that $4 balance and then pay $1. But in this case, it doesn't work like that. I would have to go get another gift card or add to the gift card balance that I have to pay. And that, I think, is what eventually, if anything, drives gamers nuts. That'll be it. But considering places like Dave & Buster's, where it's an arcade, right? And they have cards. Instead of putting quarters or coins or bills into the games, they have Dave & Buster's cards, and you put money on the card, and then it's like points. And each game is a certain amount of points. Now, when you switch over to that card form, you don't have a clue how much you're actually paying to play the game. So who knows if it's like $2 or whatever, but it's like, oh, only 32 points. Okay, insert, right? And so I think this will happen with Blizzard, is fans won't necessarily care at the beginning, but over time, like, flaws will show in the system, just like they did with Microsoft.
Yeah.
And for example, unless they do something amazing, which would be like, if the battle chest set is $9.99 and they sell it for 30 points, which turns out to be like, or 30 Blizz bucks or whatever, it turns. If they give you deals for using their currency, I think that would work out. So if it's like $9.99, but you're only paying 8 Blizz bucks,
there should be a point system like credit cards too. Like, I want frequent flyer miles.
Like the more you use it, I think if they offered things to the fans, any potential backlash wouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting idea. So anyone listening at Blizzard, implement now.
Well, I'm sure they stopped listening after the rants about hot dogs, and they don't care anymore. Much like most of the people listening right now, they're like, what did I just sit through? Who is this? Why does he keep bringing this asshole back? Seriously. Now to talk about hot dogs.
Next up, we're moving on. Next up, we have got the introduction of Lore Master Nigh, and this is probably something you'll be really interested in, Jesse. They basically added someone new. He's not really a community manager per se, but someone will be perusing the forums. Titled actually on the forums as just a Blizzard employee. Will be perusing the forums, answering any lore or story related questions. So you should probably ask some questions for him. That'd be great.
I saw that, and I'm curious when major question answering will occur, or why the need for it exists. Having read Book of Cain and followed some of the earlier books, like Sin War and things like that series, I know the outline of the story. I understand how it all comes together, but every time I've had the chance to ask about Diablo 3, you get the stonewall, like, well, in the game, I don't want to give away any spoilers, like that kind of response.
Sure.
So right now, I don't think it will be anything that any hardcore lore nerd wouldn't know, like that he could answer. But my concern is when the game comes out, what exactly won't be explained in the game that you need someone on the forums to answer?
I'm assuming that this is all just before the release, and I think that you're probably right. It's not people who are well versed on the lore probably won't be getting any questions answered, because most of their questions will probably be pertaining to D3, and they'll be spoilerific, and as such they won't be able to be answered. This is most likely going to be people ask, like, who's Deckard Cain? And then Orloth will come in and give us a nice paragraph. And
hopefully he's on all the time, because the first person who asks who's Deckard Cain is going to get super trolled.
Yeah, that's too funny. So, and actually right here, a little explanation post. I'm not a member of the community team. Long have I gestated within the story development division of the publishing team, itself a division of creative development. My purpose here is a myriad, but to mention a few, we'll be increasing the transparency of how we develop stories within our games. I think that's actually interesting because it's saying
I like that. Yeah.
Also, encourage more constructive discussion of the lore so we may better understand your likes, dislikes in order to shape our future projects. Don't know how I feel about that. I think that's pretty interesting. I don't think that the lore, the story of a game should be molded to the community's desires. I think
unfortunately, I'm almost positive that's Blizzard's philosophy.
Well, I mean, I guess we could reference WoW here. And,
if we reference WoW for anything like that, I mean, that's pretty much... Once a character is loved, that character never goes away. And eventually becomes like, a WoW deity. And everyone's like, awesome! Mew, mew! Thrall's back! And he's got superpowers now. Yeah. So...
Yeah, and then we, of course, have the space aliens, which is a great addition. I love when that happened. So if you have any more questions on the forums, looks like Nigh I can't pronounce that at all. Nigh something along those lines. We'll be answering those for you. And speaking of the forums, they are now getting amped up to start the MVP program for the Diablo forum. So the MVP community, essentially, you'll be known as a most valuable forum poster, and what that gives you is nothing more than colored lettering. But it kind of lets people know, hey, you kind of know what you're talking about. You've been in the Diablo community for a while, and you can probably more or less answer questions as well as a community manager could. And they're taking applications right now. If you post on the forums regularly and you'd like to be part of the MVP program, you can email mvps@blizzard.com. This post here, you can take a look at it yourself. If you just head on over to Diablo3.com, it's going to be one of the first couple of posts there. Just look for MVP program. I've always found the MVP thing pretty interesting. I like that they're encouraging their community and sort of rewarding them for their efforts in posting valid and informative information. I mean, it's like those guys who go on the forums and post 14 pages completely full of statistics and breakdowns and theory crafting. Like, I find that stuff insane. I can't, and those people should definitely be recognized for those efforts.
Right, and they really are. At BlizzCon 2 years ago, I met a guy who was on the he was one of the MVPs of like the WoW forums or so. But I can't not remember his name right now. But he has green text. So if you're a WoW fan and you troll the forums, you know who I'm talking about because I think he's like one of 3 people, maybe 2 at this point. But I can't remember this guy's name to save my life, and I apologize. But he was he was really cool. But he was like Blizzard royalty there. He was getting harassed by like random fans who were just like, "Oh my god, I love you." I was like, all this guy does is post on the internet.
Yeah,
like, this is insane. But I guess because if you hit that status, you're basically the fan communication to the bigwigs. I mean, you may not be talking to them every day, but the guys in charge of the forums trust you enough that they're willing to bestow nice fancy colors on you that people assume that you have their ear, and maybe they do, maybe they don't, but the level of communication between the two is really professional. There isn't a lot of, like, if someone with the green color posts, there isn't a lot of trolling, because you know what they're posting is probably legit good information or something like that.
Right, and that's something to keep in mind too. That if you're interested in doing something like this, they even say it here in the bottom of the post. You should have a strong posting history. If you're trolling people at any point, I'm sure that they're probably not going to be interested. But if you're always there providing valuable information, not misleading people or not being a nuisance, then you probably have a chance. But yeah, I mean, this is as Jesse said, it's pretty selective. There's not going to be like 50 of these. There's only a handful for each community, as far as I know. In fact, our buddy Sixon, who is typically here, and if you're wondering why he's not here today, just scheduling conflicts. He was not free at this time. We couldn't do it yesterday because of the conference call, and tomorrow I'm not free. So, yeah, he'll be here next week. But Sixon is an MVP. I want to say for the StarCraft forums. I think that he's an MVP on the SC2 side of things. So, and I'm assuming that he's probably also going to be because he was posted on the Diablo forums for quite a long time, so I'm assuming that he's going to be trying for this as well. We'll have to see if he ends up getting in that, but I don't know if you could be an MVP for 2 community forums, actually.
MVP aristocracy right there.
That's right.
He and his other MVPs will only become other MVPs. No one can take their spot.
That's too funny. Yeah, so there you go. Most valuable forum poster if you're interested. Once again, you can email an application, I'll call it, at mvps@blizzard.com. And there it is. Next up, we'll be talking about Bashiok, the man himself. Goes on a Twitter rampage. He went nuts on Twitter a few days ago, answering all sorts of questions. And this is really good, and I'm not going to go into all the questions that he answered in depth or anything. None of it's new. A lot of times people ask questions that we know the answer to, but not everyone follows Diablo super closely, so they're just confused about this, that, or the other thing. And then of course you've got questions about like the release date, which are always just nonsensical. You're going to get the same answer every time. When it's ready, soon, something along those lines. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think it's great that he took the initiative, and this could be part of his, he could have been assigned to do this. It would have been like at the offices, Bashiok, you need to talk to the community for 3 hours tonight.
So cynical. So cynical.
But if not, regardless, this is good. And even if that's the case, it's good. The fact that, as a community manager, he's interacting with the community at this level. I mean, literally, he responded to tons of questions. And it's great, and I'm bringing this up because I want to just talk briefly about Blizzard and how they interact with their community. And you'll get people, since Blizzard has such a large fan base and there's so many members of the community, you get people on either side of the fence. People say Blizzard's great with their community. People say that they suck with their community. It just, you'll always get people with varying opinions when it comes to something like that. Something like this, and not just this, we have to keep a few things in mind, because what I've been hearing a lot of is I'll hear people say like, oh, well, when it was Diablo 2 or the initial Diablo development, they were a lot more open with things, and they would always talk to us in IRC and stuff and things along those lines. And one thing to keep in mind is this is a huge company. Things are going to be a little different as a result.
Right.
Gone are the days of Blizzard being a relatively small team working on, the initial Diablo or Diablo 2. And of course, back then it was Blizzard North, and that's all changed and evolved, and people have left that team, and now we've got a few remaining members and all of that. But things are certainly different, especially given the fact that they are a large corporation. But even with that said, I think they do a great job. I'm part of what's known as the influencer program for Diablo 3, and I kind of am rolled up with the fan site program as well. And we've been, especially as of late, we've been getting actually a lot of emails from Blizzard, even Bashiok himself being the community manager, just keeping us in the loop as to what's going on, letting us know about upcoming announcements, all sorts of stuff. And I think that's a really great thing. And besides that, just touching base with a fan base like this, I think is great. And Jesse, I'd like to get your input on just the overall, how you feel Blizzard is with the community. If they're doing a good job of keeping people informed or just keeping in touch with people, or if you think that things were better back in the day.
Well, I think we talked about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't even remember. All the shows are rolling in together into one, basically.
It's all haze.
Yeah, it's all this blurry haze. No, I think I mentioned that, the very first BlizzCon was this amazing, barely anyone there. You sat across from the developers and had this conversation. But that's one of those rosy-colored glasses kind of moments where it was like, oh, that was so much better back in the day, and they were so much more receptive. I think, having gone through a lot of that with my own YouTube channel, what an egotistical thing to say, but it's true.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, I answered every single message I got, every single email, every single everything. And then after a certain point, you just get so much that it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to respond to everything because I won't have time, but I'll read everything. And then it's like, okay, now I get so much, I don't even know what, like you stare at it like, what the hell? And so it's kind of like, I understand that a lot of people want this constant. People have this sort of it's me-centric attitude. Even I do, right? Like everyone does. Everyone's just about like, well, why won't they respond to me? And you sort of forget for a moment that there's maybe a bajillion other Blizzard fans out there who have the exact same question or want the exact same feedback or want some kind of... So a lot of people expect, like, a lot of people who hate Blizzard for, like, oh, they don't care about their fans. It's not they don't care, it's that they don't immediately respond to the fans.
Yeah.
And I think that's the distinction, is a lot of people assume that not responding immediately means they don't care about you. And that's not it at all. I think Blizzard, if anything, cares too much about their fans because they make changes on a whim to satisfy fans.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so, especially with Diablo, you can see over the course of the Diablo 3 creation cycle of them making the game that fans have had major responses, and while Blizzard hasn't said anything, a couple months later something in the game changes to meet the fans' desires. And so I think that's sort of a Blizzard is it's to say that, you know, I'm just gonna agree with you. I'm gonna agree with you and shut up now because.
Well, I think, you know, I have to kind of echo your sentiment there and your statement that I kind of feel the same way. The fact that, you know, when you have a smaller fan base and you're a smaller community, it is infinitely easier to keep in touch with everyone and always be responding to everything. And again, with the YouTube channel, in obviously a much smaller degree than what Blizzard is dealing with in terms of input and feedback and questions from the community. I was the same way. When I first started my channel, I responded to it wasn't even just every message, I was responding to every comment on videos, just trying to really stay in touch with my fan base. But it gets to a point where it's ridiculous. There's so much input, there are so many messages in the YouTube inbox, so many messages in my email, and let alone all the comments on every single video. It's not, there isn't enough time in the day to keep up with this. And people might automatically respond, well, that's different. You know, you guys run YouTube channels, they've got a huge whole company. But it's not like everyone in their company is sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Like, they've got stuff to do. And they'll be hiring people to respond. And you know, specifically, like, that's Bashiok. He's a community manager for Diablo 3. So his job is to filter through all the nonsense in the forums, try to find important things to respond to. I think another issue, too, is that they'll be answering a lot of the same questions again, but it's new people asking them. And then those new people will be angry that they're not getting their questions answered, even though they've already been answered in the past. Even if it was like 50 seconds ago on another topic. You know?
And that's something that occurs with you know, people on YouTube as well. When I do a video and I ask a question, and then I get, you know, I'll get responses or I'll get creative suggestions, things like that, and then weeks go by or months go by, and someone else will make a comment on that subject, and or someone will see that, and it's like, well, I've already done that. I might write like, thanks for the comment. We already did that. Watch it, but after a while, it's you kind of get to the point where, in your mind, you say that person sent you a message. They asked you about something that gets answered in the next video, so I might as well just let them watch the next video and get the answer themselves, rather than, you know, like, oh, okay, well, they'll get, you know, it's one of those things where he wants to know if I'm going to do this next. Oh, well, I do that in the next video. Okay, next question. Right? Like, where you're trying to get, because you have so many, even to say, like, thanks for watching the video, and write, like, because you don't want to be a total douchebag and write, like, a thank you smiley face as a response, because you feel like you owe, you know, people writing you something more than that. But at the same time, it's like this conflicted notion of, well, do I respond, do I not? And so Blizzard, even though they're a giant corporation, I think Blizzard goes through the exact same thing, because, especially with Blizzard, everything they say is taken as, like, this is the word of God. And so everything they say, even if it's just a response, even a minor response, is like, oh, well, this is amazing information. Yeah. And if they responded with something that had already been said, people would complain that, oh, well, we know this already. What, you know, it's I would say it's much more difficult, and that's why I think.
And then you have to take into account too, like, all right, people, maybe there'll be a lot of questions like, oh, here's a great example, something we're still wondering about for Diablo 3. There's probably a million questions right now in the forums. They're like, how's the Rune Stone system going? Where are we in its progress? Stuff like that. And they're currently working on the Rune Stone system. We know that. We know at some point we'll be hearing an announcement. They're not going to answer every question about the Rune Stone system if they let's say they plan to announce something about the Rune Stone system in like a month and a half from now or a little bit sooner. They're not going to answer all the questions up until then. They'll just be like, all right, well, we have this announcement coming soon, so we can't answer every question about it, and we don't want people to know about it because it's still under wraps. They'll find out as soon as this happens. It's like it directly correlates to what you just said about like responses in YouTube videos and stuff. And again, with such a large community, they get so much of this input. I'm sure it's overwhelming in the sense that, you know, they've already answered all these questions and they've got something coming up, so people kind of just need to put on their brakes. And I think part of the problem too is that a lot of Blizzard fans are just so fanatic. I'm the same way. We always want to know what's going on because we're so excited about the game. People, I don't know, just kind of need to take a chill pill and wait till it comes along, unfortunately.
And that's to Blizzard's credit. I mean, I think that's to anyone's credit who gets bombarded. Like you were saying earlier, you went from, you know, answering every single one to now there's just too many. And anyone who gets like, oh, why am I getting so many like you're missing the point. The reason why you're getting all the messages, the reason why you have so many responses, it's because people like what you're doing. It's not because they hate you.
Yeah.
Like if they spent 20 minutes writing this is how you fix your problem, or like if I screw up in a video, I'll get maybe like 30 messages that are page like walls of text telling me why I screwed up and how to fix it.
Right.
And normally I can see people being like, oh my god, but I'm thankful there are people out there who care enough who are like, dude, no, this is how you do it. Like,
right.
That shows you have a honest fan base that wants to help you, and I think Blizzard should consider themselves fortunate that they have such a massive fan base that's willing to. Oh yeah, I'm not saying they don't, but I think that's why they have their like Bashiok and all the different guys who see. I mostly work with the guys over on the WoW side of stuff,
right.
And so they when like BlizzCon comes around or things like that, they pull out all the stops for you know, the guys like us. I mean, I never had so much fun than I did this year's past BlizzCon, because you got all this access to all this great stuff, because they really want you to, you know, they realize they can't get everything out there to everyone, and so they want you to bring stuff to the community. I think the room we were in when we were doing the Diablo III Real Money Auction House, like that private like thing, that was great, because we got to ask questions that were things that, you know, someone on the forum would ask or be thinking about, that there's no way you'd have time to, like, when you start bringing up like, what if I were to make $1 million? and then you know, he sits there and he's like, well, I don't think that was like, but what if like, how would you guys handle if I try to like finagle the system? Like, the conversation was totally silly, but it was something that, you know, is a topic of interest, because people see Real Money Auction House and they go, money? How can I make some of that? And so I think that they go out of their way to, I mean, the fact that we sat there for 20 minutes talking about, you know, becoming a millionaire in Diablo 3 is, you know, that just goes to show the level of commitment to not only the fans, but to idiots like me who somehow, you know, got my way onto press, air quotes. So yeah, I love Blizz. They definitely, yeah.
I definitely think overall they do a good job, and I think that as long as people realize that the kind of things that we mentioned, and that, you know, they do their best to reply to what they can, when it makes sense. Like, they're not going to answer questions about stuff they're just getting ready to announce. They're definitely never going to be answering questions about the release date until it's ready. And then at the same time, people realize, well, why am I so anxious about this? Well, it's because you love their game, and that's, you know, that's a great thing for Blizzard. It's a testament to their high quality, and we wouldn't be so anxious about this stuff if we weren't so interested in it.
Right.
Yeah. Again, I'll give Blizzard. Let's give them a grade. I'll give Blizzard an A. We'll give them an A for community responsiveness and feedback.
Okay, you know what? For a moment, I was about to apologize for me rambling like an idiot, but you know what? I'll let you take those reins with giving them a letter grade and run with it.
Sounds good. Next up, onto some gameplay discussion. Firstly, we'll be mentioning map overlays in the game. There were some questions, concerns, whatever you may want to call it, about how the map overlay worked currently in its current iteration, and this is the way it's going to stay. When you have the map overlay, you can't move your character around. So if you hit M to bring up your map that covers a complete screen to get a full view of what's around you, you can't move around. Now, this is obviously much different than it was in, say, Diablo 2, where people always played with the map up. The reason behind this, it's been responded by Blizzard, that's the whole point. They don't want people to play with their full screen completely the entire game. It just doesn't make for a fun game experience. In fact, that was one of the things, as much as I loved Diablo 2, that was one of the things I hated the most. I felt like I permanently needed my map there, and then I was like, this looks like, excuse me, but it looks like shit. Like this, I don't like having big red blotches everywhere and like seeing this map and not being able to actually look at the game itself. And for that reason, I'm glad they made this decision. And of course, we have the advantage of the mini-map in the right-hand corner now, so that's going to provide a general sense of guidance. And whenever we need to bring up the map, it just means we take a quick break and look at where we are and then get our bearings and move from there. But yeah, I was not a fan of always playing with my map up, and I think that this is a kind of a way for them to remedy that. And I don't know, I think that's a good thing.
I love the process of designing games because it always changes, and I never quite understand the balance, like the balancing act a designer has to go through. But the original thought process was gamers are going to play this game, dungeon crawl. If they have to go through maze-like dungeons, they're going to need their map. But it's going to be such a pain in the ass to go back and forth from your map to your screen, from your map to your screen, and then so let's make it so like you can have it open while moving. Like, that's the thought process behind that. And then the next time around, you're like, well, all people did was have the map open because it made the game easy mode, and that's how you cleared dungeons. Like, that's how you discovered different areas. And so, well, now we have to change that. And so I like how it's this evolution, and I almost wonder what the next step is, because it's like they've gone back to go forward. So I wonder if in the future there's going to be like some change. I love that aspect, because to me it's all like this weird history of gaming, and I love that kind of stuff, watching how games change. And so this is one of those gamers responded to this system not by using it as like an easy hotkey thing, but instead using it to cheat the game. And so now, in order to counteract that, we're taking it back a bit, but still giving them this mini-map in the corner.
Yeah.
And I wonder what reaction to that will be.
Yeah, I mean, in the beta so far, it's been fine. Like my playthroughs of it, it hasn't been too troublesome. I've definitely experienced occasions where I need to look at the map for a kind of an extended period of time to get my bearings, but I still want to keep moving. So what I always end up doing is, and this is what's happened, and maybe this is a problem, maybe this is something they want to try to fix. But instead of like just standing still and look at my map, I would click as far in the corner of the direction I want to go as I could. And while he was moving, I'd view the map, and then the second he got there, right before he stopped, I'd drop the map, do it again, and then bring the map back up.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah. And I don't think that's exactly what they want, but if I need to look at the map for a long period of time, I don't want to stand still, and that's how I responded to it. So... And I guess you did the same thing. So
I almost wonder if they are even saying rely on your map even less. Because that's one of the things I found fun during my first couple playthroughs. After a while, I'm trying to remember which quest. It's the one where you have to find Deckard Cain. Like, you have to find the specific dungeon he's in. Like, part of the dungeon he's in, that, like, stairwell down. And so... it's during that quest where the first couple times I didn't even use the map. Mm-hmm. I just went around, killed things, explored, was like, oh, he's not here. But by playthrough number 5, doing the exact same quest, you're just like, where is this stupid... Okay, let me look at the map. Okay, I recognize that sort of like circle-shaped room. Yeah. So and it's that kind of thing where you're just staring at the map trying to figure out how to avoid 90% of the dungeon. And I guess... maybe that's what they're trying to avoid as well. That sort of, how do I get through this area as quick as possible? Or the exact opposite, how do I explore every last nook and cranny and find everything there is to find? Maybe they're saying to the gamer this time, look, we've given you this sort of hotbar bottom thing. We have a button for potions. We're simplifying this game so that you spend your time killing and blowing stuff up and having a great time, and not doing all the map stuff or playing with your inventory and things like that. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. Like, we're trying to make it a game where you can go in and essentially Dynasty Warriors it up and just slay things and have a good day.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely much more possible with the mini-map in the corner. You can still figure out where you are without having to focus on the map and kind of stay in the action as much as possible, which has been a driving theme, certainly, in the game, even though they just made it so we have to go back to town to sell stuff. But that's another issue. But yeah, no, I think that is right, and that makes sense. They definitely don't want us staring at the map. They much rather have us playing the game, so it's a fair statement. It is. Public chat channels will be in the game. Apparently there was a little bit confusion, but it looks like they will be coming to the game, so we'll have our public chat channels as we know them.
Those are always a good source of entertainment.
Oh, yeah, if nothing else.
Always.
If nothing else. Actually, they'll be coming up in a beta patch as well, so you can chat with other beta participants in kind of a general chat. I'm assuming this is just going to work much in the way as the StarCraft 2 chat channels do. I could be wrong, though. We'll have to see. I mean, either way, it'll be coming in a beta patch, so we'll be seeing some more changes coming up. And once that all happens, of course, we'll be mentioning it, and maybe making a video or two about it. We'll have to see. But yeah, I guess I mean it's cool, it's good. It is nothing more than a hangout and or entertainment zone, as Jesse said.
But I wonder if that is. It just hit me that seems like something that doesn't need to be there, but it seems so fundamental to gaming, especially online, that, for example, if I'm playing Diablo, I am playing the game, and if it's just by me, I'm playing it by myself. Like, that's it. And it's sort of a singular experience. If I invite some friends, it's maybe, 3 of us playing. But it's still a singular, it's this experience with friends. It sort of takes away from this whole, there are all these people playing it, and everyone's having game experiences, and this is a thriving community. Something that I think is desperately needed in gaming, to have this belief that you aren't just playing this by yourself, but that all these other people are playing it, and so you can communicate with them and talk. Like, people need that sort of fundamental, we are all in this together kind of feeling, and I think just by simply adding a public chat feature, even though it'll be all just like really bad Chuck Norris jokes,
yeah,
and, even though what's going to be there, the fact that it's there is like, that's slightly comforting. It's a very psychological move by Blizzard, and I know this is probably sounding like I'm talking out my ass, but that's what I do. And I'm telling you, it seems like this is a very psychological move, that it doesn't need to be there. There's no real reason to have it there. It's just going to be, people spamming stuff or acting silly or making jokes, right? But the fact that it's there is a comfort to players, especially of Blizzard games, especially if they're coming from WoW. It's that comfort of like, oh, well, I can talk to people while I'm sitting here, or I can ask for advice. Like, I'm not alone in this process.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely true. Like, a lot of there will be a lot of trolling there. That's gonna happen. Just that's how it is in any general chat. People just like to act stupid, which is fine, I suppose. But no, yeah, you are right. It's something, because it kind of takes away that feeling of I don't want to say loneliness, but the feeling that there isn't a community there. It's just you playing by yourself. At least, even if you're not playing a game with someone, if you can hop into general chat and kind of shoot the shit with people, it is comforting in a sense. So,
and that's how you develop long-term gameplay. No matter what any gaming designer or marketer will say, community is what keeps people playing games.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's the reason why Warcraft still has the amount of subscribers it does. I know someone at Blizzard would love to debate me about content and amazing, like, oh, we did this and it's the rating, and it's 9,999% of that game is community based. If I went to any group in any, from super high level rating to casual player, I bet 9 out of 10 people would say the reason why they play is because the friends they've made or the things, the time they've spent in the game. This sort of feeling of community, like these are my people. I belong here. I love these guys. Like, that's what keeps people playing.
Of the 5 years that I heavily played World of Warcraft, I probably would have quit after 3 if it weren't for the people I was playing with.
Right.
And what eventually happened was when the people that I was playing with left, I left.
Exactly.
That's
I mean, that's what happened. I was on my very first server was Gorefiend, and I was on that server for 6 years, and then the guild I was on, which was like, it lasted forever. When it started to break up over time, when my really good friends left, it was like, well, I'll try out another server, and I did, and I had some, I have some really good friends there, and that's the kind of idea where it's the relationships you make. It has nothing to do with, like, oh, well, you get to kill Deathwing now. It's you get to kill Deathwing with your friends.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of the idea. And for as awesome as any other game is, right? If I'm playing, for example, Skyrim, right? When I'm done playing Skyrim, I'm done with it. There's no point in going back after I've completed everything I want to get out of the game. And that's something that I think Diablo 3, especially since it's like a story-driven game that has an ending point, if you have that ending point in there and there's no community to back it up, people will just play and then be like, well, that was fun. Moving on.
Yeah, it is. It's such a huge thing for gaming. Me in particular, I only play games that I can play with my friends for the most part. Skyrim was an exception because it's just a friggin' amazing game. But if they added co-op to Skyrim, I would play it so much more than I already am. Like, it would be so amazing to do co-op dungeons with your friends in that game.
Oh, you'd be Fusrodong your friends around.
I know.
You can imagine the hilarity involved in play. That's why a lot of games, even though fundamentally they don't seem like they should, are doing multiplayer things.
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps people playing longer. And the more public and open you can make it, and the more community you can form around it, the better the overall quality of the game is. Even if the game itself isn't that great, it's the fact that there's other people playing it, and so you're in this community. And that's, I think, everyone from, the clickiest, like beauty queen girl in school to the nerdiest lowly AV club nerd. Everyone needs to feel like they belong somewhere. That's just human nature.
Right.
And so to instill that in a game is just smart. And I think they're, even like I said, even though and we know that that's just going to be a complete troll fest and silly chat, it still makes people, even the worst jokes. Sometimes you look up and you see a really bad, like, off-color joke, and you still laugh because it's funny.
Yeah.
I think it works.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I do want to make an amendment to your statement, and I know you feel the same way. You were just voicing one side of it. It is the community that keeps us playing, but the reason we're there is because it's a good game, and that's like I first started playing WoW, and I got so addicted because the game was amazing. But then there is a saturation point, and you get to a point where you don't care so much about that, but it becomes 100% about the community.
Right, and that's I was referring to like WoW now.
Yeah.
When it comes to games, clearly it's the game is the draw.
Yeah.
And then the community forms, and that keeps you playing. Yeah.
Right, and I think Blizzard clearly realizes that though, and that's probably part of their reasoning behind implementing it. Because a game like Diablo doesn't really need a general chat. You're going to be playing with 3 other people at most at any given time. And plus there's like public matchmaking, so you never have a problem finding anyone. You don't need to go to general chat to find someone to play with. You click join game, you're going to be grouped with people. But the fact that they realize that just the inherent nature of this game isn't we want a big community, but the gameplay itself doesn't dictate that. It's not necessary the way the game is developed. You play with only 3 other people. So how can we get people still involved and chatting with each other? A chat channel is going to basically be the way you do it. And then whatever else they decide to do, any community building things, like, God, I would hopefully this eventually comes. I know it's nowhere soon, but if they eventually decide to go down the road of making PvP a little more competitive, then having tournaments and stuff like that is part of it.
I told you I want my tournament.
I know.
I want that.
I want to commentate a tournament. Damn it!
That would Blizzard.
I know.
I am down on my knees, figuratively. I'm sitting in a chair, but I'm down on my knees, begging you you have to make a single, like an elimination tournament where when your character dies, he dies for good.
Yeah.
And
the hardcore elimination.
Super hardcore elimination. Yeah. And then the last match is like 1-on-1, but it's free for all 4 people versus insert like random boss.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to kill each other that would be the most glorious. And just live stream it, Blizz. You'd make a fortune. Charge $1.
One day we will make it happen. We will push for this. I promise.
Someone get this done.
I know.
Ashiok, get it done.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think we touched on kind of the driving points behind why this type of game kind of needs chat channels, and it's good that it's going to be there. I think for that very reason, because community is what keeps people playing. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
Yep.
Really, really is. All right.
That's why, as I keep rambling, but that's why other games fail.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's why, I mean, that is why people will, Skyrim stole all the rage and people are still playing it a ton, but eventually people will be like, okay, I'm all done. Unless they add co-op. As amazing of a game as that is, and as much draw as it has now, eventually people will tire of playing with themselves, and they want, and this isn't an all-encompassing statement. Certainly there are people out there, there's a community of people out there that only like playing themselves, and they don't really care about playing with other people. But I'd say vast majority.
Sorry.
Yeah. What were you about to throw something in there?
No, I was having a dirty moment to myself because you said there's a community of people out there who only like playing with themselves. I'm sorry, it was funny to me.
That's fine. You can think that. I probably thought the same thing. It was a fleeting moment. Next up, we're talking about difficulty in Diablo 3. How hard is the game going to be? Well, according to people at Blizzard, it's going to be damn hard. This video recently went up February 8th, 2 days ago. It is actually pulled from BlizzCon 2011. I'm sure you remember seeing this, Jesse. Various people in the Blizzard development and stuff like that. They took environment artists, 3D artists. Who else do they have here? 3D artists. Yeah, 3D artists and environment artists, and a couple of people talking about how hard the game is in their playthrough. And basically, they just said, "Hey guys, we're playing Diablo a lot here in the offices, and we die all the time." I'm sure some people will be quick to say, okay, so they're just bad. They're showing us bad players. But no, the point of this video and the point of this discussion is Inferno mode is supposed to be crazy hard, and you're going to die through the learning process most likely, unless you're playing super careful in hardcore mode or something like that. The point is it's going to be really difficult, and I think that's what they were trying to drive home. And I remember seeing this at BlizzCon and getting super excited, and hopefully it rings true. I think it will be. I think one thing that people are forgetting is that the difficulty of the fourth difficulty in the game, Inferno mode, is supposed to be harder than anything we ever played in Diablo 2, because all the monsters are starting at a baseline of level 61, and our max level is 60. So everything we face is supposed to be crazy intense, and I hope that's true. I hope it's really, really hard and presents a challenge, because besides community, challenge is another thing we look for in games to keep us intrigued and playing. And so let me throw this to you, Jesse. When it comes to D3 at release, we've got the 4 difficulties. Do you think you'll be going all the way up to Inferno mode, which is supposed to be like the hardest difficulty, or do you think you're even going to be playing hardcore and stuff like that? Is that going to be a draw for you?
I think that if Inferno offers epic reward, like something that you can show off to say, like, look what I did and survived, count me in.
Yeah,
I will totally.
Yeah, and the answer to that question is yes, it is going to. There's a tier. The last few tiers of gear only drop in Inferno mode, and those are supposed to be visually the best looking ones, the most epic looking pieces of gear. So that is the case. It is going to be that if you want the most badass looking stuff, you're going to have to play Inferno.
And at the same time, that also means that the people who don't play Inferno will be looking for that gear on the auction house.
Right.
Which means those people who do play stand to make some serious cash.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I'm down. I like both those. Looking good and having money, that's
all we need in real life, let alone Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, I need that.
Yeah, so, I suppose there's not too much to say about it other than the fact that I hope it's true, and I hope that immediate naysayers who would just say, okay, the people in that video, they're just bad at the game, I hope that proves to be false. I hope it's really, really difficult, and that,
I can't wait for them to die. I
can't wait for you to die.
I just... that did sound really mean. Like, I hope they die. I like I wish I could be like a fly on the wall in that room when they spend weeks and weeks just like, oh, those guys are horrible, and they sit down to play it and then just get like face rolled,
Yeah.
get completely wrecked in the first 2 minutes of gameplay. I wish I could be there to see the faces.
And it's not malicious because that's a good thing. I mean, they want difficulty, and they'll get it.
Yeah.
There you go.
They got what they wanted.
Yeah.
Blizzard listens to their fans, we said.
Yeah. You're going to die.
Die.
So I can't wait. I'm excited. Can't wait for the epic loot and all the money it's going to rake in.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would be willing to sit through death after death if it meant the chance of something really epic that I could sell. Like, that just, to me, I think that puts a lot of emphasis on this whole, people always assumed, oh, we're going to go through and eventually everyone's going to have all these good items and then the market's just going to die. But I think this change to a super high level of difficulty with awesome rewards that then anyone can use is really going to spark the BlizzBucks economy.
Something else that I hope that they're willing to do as well is, let's say that people get into it and it turns out that there's a relatively large segment of the player base that's kind of breezing through it. I hope they're willing to scale it up if that becomes true. I hope they're willing to make necessary adjustments to make it that difficult if they're seeing too high. Because you know what I bet they're going to do? I bet it's all percentage based. Because isn't that how they did WoW rating as well? They said, all right, we only want 5% of people beating like heroic raids, and if it's higher, then we tune the dungeon up. If it's lower, then we tune the dungeon down.
Yeah, they have like some ridiculous system, and this is like MIT kind of stuff where they have equations and analytics and all sorts of stuff that determine that. But you're absolutely right. Like, they have a set number, and if the community can achieve that goal, they leave as is. If too many people are doing it, they increase the difficulty or they lower it. And recently, and a lot of people of course complain about this recently because the last 2 or 3 levels of raid dungeons, they've decreased and drastically. And the reason isn't because they're making it so easy. It's because so few people have done it. And that's just smart business.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I hope that they carry that philosophy into Diablo 3. Let's just set a benchmark. Let's just say it's 5%. We can, and maybe it'll be a little more than that, but I don't know. You got to figure there's a lot of relatively casual players who'll probably only play through normal once or twice.
Right.
So we take the whole player base, everyone that purchases the game and is playing Diablo 3. I hope that they have got something like, okay, we want 5% of people who play the game will be able to complete Inferno. And if like all of a sudden they launch and like 15-20% of people are beating Inferno, then they'll increase the difficulty to scale it to that range. I hope they do. I hope that they make it kind of like that elite thing. And I think, as far as I understand, that is their plan. So, maybe we'll look forward to that.
I hope they do it on a per boss basis. So there's certain things like benchmarks that they use. So it's 5% of the community beats this guy, and so maybe like the final boss, if people beat him or her, then they have this sort of they do it like by area. They don't just across the board. Because I almost think like it'd be easier to have like leave the first area sort of as a proving grounds and not buff stuff there, and so people who are still getting into it can actually get into it there, and then the next. And I know this is what Blizzard does, and people complain about it all the time. Like, they're ruining it. Oh, noobs are gonna get in here and ruin it for us. But I think when you think company-wise, that's like the smartest way. Everyone can now experience what you've done. And I know that's Blizzard's philosophy. They love the idea that we're going to create content that in the end everyone can see. Because I think that's a really smart way to go. And I know it pisses off a lot of people, but if you think about your whole gaming population, that's how you best reach them.
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing about this game, though, is like everyone without issue should be able to see all the content because Acts 1 through 4 will be the same no matter the difficulty.
Right.
So at least, and I think that's also probably why there's a large group of people who won't really experience Inferno because, after playing through the same... I know that this is the point of Diablo. You play through the same thing over and over. It's about the grind and about getting the loot. But not everyone plays games that way, and there will be a large group of people who'll probably play through normal, nightmare, maybe even hell, and then they'll be like, okay, it's nothing, there's nothing new here, so I'll still play Diablo, but I'm not too concerned about going through Inferno or whatever. And I'm sure that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people should be able to experience it all, I think. Well, obviously, it won't be hard to get through the first playthrough difficulty in normal, so.
Oh, yeah, man, you're absolutely right. So my last point is completely invalid, and I will shut
Damn
up
it,
now.
Jesse.
Totally useless.
Yesterday we had the Activision Blizzard conference call, and I know many of you probably know this by now. There was a lot of financial stuff, a lot of mumbo-jumbo, and then Activision talked about Modern Warfare and all that garbage. But on the Diablo 3 front, we got the announcement that they are planning to launch the game in Q2. Quarter 2, and a lot of people immediately were like, you guys are jerks, you're pushing it back again, and then I'll respond, what? They never said at any point like quarter 1 was the target. All they ever said was early 2012. Maybe we're arguing semantics, maybe we're saying maybe people are going to respond. It was implied that would have been quarter 1. Whatever, I'm not necessarily trying to defend Blizzard in the fact that they've set this target of quarter 2. All I'm saying is that technically from what we've ever officially heard, it's always just been early 2012. I think.
When does quarter 2 start?
Is it April? I think it's the calendar year, not the fiscal that they're talking about here when they talk about quarter 2.
I almost specifically remember saying that if we don't see the game soon, it'll be in May. I think I'll stick with May.
And you know what's funny too? People who right now are getting angry, like, oh, so you mean we're not going to see it at least until April? Well, it's February 10th. They haven't announced it yet. Did you think they were going to announce it a week before release? I mean, I don't feel like anything's much changed. The fact that they haven't announced a release date, even if they announce it next week, even if next week they say, we're releasing it, it's not going to be until Q2 anyways. They're going to give it at least a month, 2 months, 3 months headway. So I think that's fair.
I'm going to predict. I'm going to make a prediction right now.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to go to May. Tuesday, May 8th.
Wow.
Or Thursday, May 10th. One of those 2 days is when it will be released.
I like 8th. I think 8th feels better. It's got a better
I'm using my predictive powers
to
determine that.
That's good.
'Cause Blizzard, for some reason, October, November, and May are big months for them. I don't know why I believe this. I don't think it's even accurate.
Can you qualify this statement, Jesse?
No, I cannot. I don't know what I'm talking about, but for some reason, November, October, and May are always like big months for them.
Yeah.
And so I will simply say that I believe that it will come out May 8th or May 10th. I'll say May 8th. I'll stick with that.
Great.
A firm date. Much like the people who predict the apocalypse, I will stick to my date and we'll form a cult based around it.
You will be unwavering until that day, and then there will be an excuse as to why it didn't happen.
Yep. It wasn't Blizzard's will.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Blizzard is a mysterious. Yeah.
All right, and as Jesse puts away his magic 8-ball, we'll be wrapping up news. I just wanted to do a short little community discussion over on Reddit. If you're not a member of Reddit, the Reddit community, probably take a look at it. Go to reddit.com/r/Diablo, and there's all sorts of breaking news here and stuff, and you can chat with other people who love Diablo. I wanted to mention the awesome Tyrael 3D painting. This was posted by, I gotta take a look here, Raffleade. Reddit user Raffleade posted a awesome kind of like a 3D rendering of Tyrael, and it's a nice paint job, and he kind of cut out Tyrael after drawing him, and just basically placed him on top of a backdrop painting. But it was pretty cool. I liked it. I just wanted to mention it. I'd like to start throwing some community acknowledgement out at the end of this podcast, and this will be the first one, the first installment of community nods. So congratulations to you, Raffleade. You got featured here on DiabloCast. It's a prestigious honor. So, and we'll wrap up
Reddit
things
names
with questions. It's pretty neat. I don't know. I don't think I gave you the link to that, but I'm sure you could take a look.
I'll find it. I'll type in
Yeah,
3D Tyrael Raffle Aid.
Yeah, Raffle Aid. All right, and then as always, we'll finish things off here with a couple of questions. And let's see, we're going to go over onto the Facebook page. First question coming from Justin. How great of an impact, this is a good question for you, Jesse. How great of an impact will the release of D3 have on the WoW community? Do you think the amount of WoW players will drop drastically? So, Jesse, given that you're so entrenched in WoW, and I'd like to know what you and maybe your friends who you also play WoW with, what their thoughts are when D3 releases. Like, how is that going to play into your overall gameplay time allotment?
I think Blizzard's smart. They essentially made it so people who would be playing WoW at the time have already bought into the year thing. So you won't see a number drop, but you may see an on-server count of people drop. So for a temporary time period, you'll see people playing the game, giving it the once over like you were talking about, where they play through it once or twice, and then they go back to WoW. I see that being the majority of the WoW players, because for as much as people are like, well, WoW hasn't changed that much, raiders or people who are into WoW, they have a schedule.
Yeah.
Like, if I have to be there at 7, raid tonight. So even if they're playing something else, they have to go back. For me, for example, like, I'll be playing Star Wars, and then 7 o'clock, I'm like, oh, it's raid night, I gotta go, see ya. Like, it takes precedence over everything. So I can see that no matter what game, especially a Blizzard game, it won't be that much of a big hit for Blizz, because they set up a very smart system where if you buy a year's worth of WoW, we'll give you this game for free to play.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't think it'll be a big hit to the actual numbers. Like, you won't see, like, Blizzard lost 60,000 or 100 billion players, right? I'm just making up numbers now. You won't see that, but you will see, like, as a player on the server, I think you'll see a drop in active users, but it'll eventually go back up.
I think the biggest drop will probably take place when Titan comes out. I mean, that's obviously we know, like, the community is declining. It's not as large as it once was. It's still gigantic. I think they announced at the conference call yesterday there's still 10 million active users or whatever.
Right. But yeah, so I mean, that's at least
3,
6 or
4,
7.
5. Oh, you're saying 6 or 7? You think it's that? Yeah.
I would say 6 million active users, because you have to figure a bunch of those are accounts that people have, they don't play, and
yeah.
I would be willing to go on the high end, just because still when I log in, there's a ton of people on.
Yeah.
Like, and there's still a ton of servers, and you can tell when a game is really declining because you log in and there's just nobody around, and so then you go to another server and there's just nobody around. And Blizzard for WoW, really, you can go in any time of the day and find people. So I think I'd be willing to go 6 million. But either way, yeah, I think once they release Titan, WoW will pretty much be a niche sort of people who play it because they love it so much, like an Eve or an EverQuest.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a community
11.
of EverQuest players that just refuse to play another game. The same thing's going to happen
Right.
with WoW. But the fact is, with an MMO, it's so time intensive that most people only have really time for one MMO in their life, as weird as that might sound.
Right.
And so that I think when Titan comes, it's probably when we'll see the biggest shift. But the great thing about D3, and to touch on your point, people who play WoW right now, most of them probably have either PvP schedules or raiding schedules. The great thing about Diablo 3 is that you can still play that game. It's such a pick-up, play, drop at any point without an issue kind of game that it's not a problem. I mean, that's a great thing. Like, once you get to level 60 in D3, you could technically stop playing except every once in a while, and it wouldn't be a big deal. And if you wanted to keep your character up to snuff, you could just buy gear in the auction house.
Right.
Where you can't do that with a game like WoW, where it requires you to be there for X amount of hours a week to get the optimal gain. It's not really necessary with Diablo, so those two games can kind of live in harmony for that reason. But yeah, I think the next biggest drop will just probably be when Titan comes out, and I hope it's like 4 or 5 years. I hope it's not going to be 7 or 8 years away.
I am so curious what that game is going to be. And again, 8 Ball's coming out again. Titan will either be a something to do with space or something to do with superheroes.
Superheroes. Ugh, I
Those
don't
are
know
my
how I feel about that.
No, I'm telling you, it's one of the two. A lot of people, because I know Titan's a code name, that's fine, but I'm telling you, my belief is it's either space or superheroes. One of the, and it's not going to be StarCraft, but it's either space or superheroes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see if that 8-ball proves to be correct.
I'm having psychic predictions.
Yeah. Next question comes from David. Are there going to be any rune words or similar in D3 since they played a large role in endgame in D2? Or are they simply replaced by Rune Stones? So Rune Stones are basically they're not replacing rune words because it's a different kind of system. Rune Stones are basically now our skill and variation between different characters. That's what Rune Stones do. They allow us to have all sorts of different skills from other people who are playing the same class. Rune words, currently they're not in the game, but I think it's something that they plan to implement later on, or at least they've discussed possibly implementing it later on. So, yeah, I don't know. That's that. It's not there right away, but it could be there in the future.
Was that something they mentioned at BlizzCon? Like, because I seem to remember that the conversation about the words was like, it was someone had brought it up, and then the look on their faces was like, oh yeah, we probably should have done that. Like one of those things where it was like, oh, in the future. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we planned on that. Yep.
Yeah, totally. And then it was like one of those, oh, we probably should get on that kind of moments. I seem to recall that's what it was, but I still think that's probably something that they'll have eventually.
Yeah, I mean, we know of, we plan to have at least 2 expansions, probably 3, possibly 3. So we'll see some more stuff, the Mystic probably being one of them. Next question comes from Dennis, and not me, another Dennis, asking, will the PvP system work as, let's say, the Old Republic, joining up with your level 50 teammates, but you're level 30? So he's basically asking if in the arena, if your characters are going to scale no matter what level you are.
I don't think so.
No, yeah, it's not going to work that way. They want you to really focus on your gear and your character building outside of the arena, and so as a result, they're not scaling or anything like that. You build your character. The one thing to keep in mind too is you're going to be able to get to max level in Diablo 3 much quicker than you are in any MMO, let alone the Old Republic. Although the Old Republic, it doesn't seem like it was that long of a leveling thing.
And most of the time in PvP, you got a ton. Like, people keep asking me why I'm so over-leveled when I actually show, like, story parts of the game. And it's because I PvP a ton. And you gain so much experience. I think I've gained 10 levels just PvPing. And it makes it easy because of what Dennis had said, as I talked to Dennis, of what D2 we'll call
D2,
him,
yep.
What D2 had said. It's that kind of idea that I think it's really cool. I love the idea that you can be 14 and play with a 50, and your stats are buffed to that 50 character. But at the same time, I understand the fundamental flaw with that is that you still only have the skills of a level 14, while the guy at 50 has all these other abilities. And so it sort of makes it unfair. So if you are PvPing and you're level, 10, you don't have access to everything that a guy at level 60 is going to have.
Right.
And so that while it seems like a great idea, I think Blizzard is a smart move here because inherently there's something a little bit unfair about it.
One thing I'm not sure too is, first of all, I don't know when you're gonna be able to start PvPing. Because that PvP isn't, nor is it going to be a part of the beta unless they change their mind.
Right.
So I wonder. I know that there's going to be a bracket system, and I think that they're probably going to let PvP happen at some point. Let's say it's level 10, 15, 20, whatever. But they're going to try to match you with people your level. And again, keep in mind, it's not going to take that long to get to 60. This isn't an MMO. It's not supposed to take, a few days of non-stop playing. Not even a few days, a week or two of non-stop playing to be able to get to the max level. It's not that type of game. You're going to get to max level.
Story driven.
Yeah. You're going to get to max level, and then you're just going to be grinding gear. That's what the focus is. It isn't the leveling process. It's what happens at max level.
Yeah, it's prestige based. Like, oh yeah, we've all experienced this story, but have you experienced getting the wand of Jordanic awesomeness?
The answer is no.
Yeah, exactly.
Last question coming from Rodrigo. Hi, Forrest and Jesse. My question is about the European beta keys. Is it just enough to go on and check every day on my Battlenet account for the beta key? Can I try any other methods to enhance my odds? So when it comes to the beta keys handed out specifically from Blizzard, the best thing, just don't bother with your email. Chances are, any email you get, it's probably just phishing.
Bogus completely.
Yeah. So don't be too concerned with your email. The best thing to do is just head over to battle.net, log into your account, whatever account you have your WoW account on, or your StarCraft 2 account, your Battlenet account that holds your other games. You log onto that and you go into your games, the games section. In fact, I can even pop this up really quickly just to show people. Hopefully I just don't reveal all my personal information at the same time. So you're going to go onto that. And then what will happen is if you are in the beta, it's just going to say there. You're going to go to Battle.net, you're going to go to Manage My Games. I'm going to log into that. And yeah, but don't bother with the email, because the thing is too is even if you get in the beta, they will eventually. All right, let me try to frame this out so nobody knows where I live, my house and stuff. All right, so here we go. All right, so there it is. You're going to go into your game accounts, and it should just pop up right here. It'll say Diablo 3 beta if you're in, and that's it. If it doesn't say that, then you're not in the beta.
And this happens with all Blizzard things now. Every Blizzard game, StarCraft 2, Cataclysm, the way they set up their new system, these are previous betas I've been in, so I kind of get the idea. Same with Diablo 3. The way it's set up then is they might send you an email that says, you're in the beta, but even then, don't click the links, just standard operating procedure, because unless you're part of unless you've won a contest or you're some type of Blizzard fan site, there will not be codes involved.
Right.
And people are trying to fish this stuff. I had a contest in December, and I got 10 codes to give out for the Diablo 3 beta, and out of those, I gave out the codes. And there was one person I sent a code to, and he's like, hey, can you send it to my email? I sent him the email, and because I announced the winners, like the names of their YouTube accounts, right? Some dude hacked this guy's account, then because his password was the same password as his email, hacked his email and stole the thing from him.
Unbelievable.
There are people out there trying to do this stuff. So unless you are involved in a contest where there are keys involved and there's special ways to enter those keys, 99% of the Blizzard invites you'll get will be an email saying you're already in it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go to your account and download the game. Right. There will be no link here and then enter this, and don't even bother. Like Dennis said, the best thing to do is go and just check your account, and it will be listed there. Right. And they do that for every beta, and it will be like that from now until whenever they change their system again. But it saves a lot of trouble and prevents a lot of hacking issues. So definitely do not accept, if someone says you're in it, don't listen to them. Just go type in blizzard.com or
Battle.net
or whatever it is. Battle,
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
And in terms of the whole increasing your chances, when you're getting it directly from Blizzard through this for the upcoming European beta wave, it's all just opting in. So you go to Battle.net and you opt into the beta if you haven't done that already. And then from there, they've also mentioned there was a recent post that talked about the 100,000 keys they gave away on the U.S. servers. And then in that same post, they said that there's going to be a few more giveaways from Blizzard through maybe their Twitter or something like that. They didn't say specifically where, but there'll be other future Blizzard giveaways. And they also mentioned that there'll be fan site giveaways as well. So with something like that, you want to keep an eye on the various fan site websites for Diablo 3 and also here on the channel as well, because we're expecting or looking to get something at some point in the future. Again, this isn't secret information. This was all mentioned right there in the post officially on Diablo3.com. So there will be other giveaways at some point. They're in the works. Nothing has been officially announced yet. We don't know when, where, how, but we do know if. It's coming. Just a matter of time. So there you go. All right. I think that does it. Jesse, we went long this time. It was a long episode.
I know. That's because I did a lot of pointless rambling about hot dogs and buns.
So we can blame Jesse. Or you can thank Jesse, depending on how you view it.
No, there'll be a lot of blame. There'll be a lot of blame.
All right, well, that was a great episode. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be doing another episode of DiabloCast. I think we'll try to go back to the Thursday schedule. It got pushed back to Friday this week because of the conference call. We didn't want to overlap with it, nor did we want to sit through the conference call because it's kind of boring, and I don't want a podcast just be...
Boring?
Well, I mean, it's boring for the average listener to sit through the financial podcast garbage. I listen to it because it's kind of my job, but...
When you say average listener, you mean me. I would have lost my mind 10 minutes in. Like, oh my god, so many numbers.
So unless you love numbers or financials, you probably don't want to listen to a conference call, so that's why we skipped it. And but next week, I think we're going to plan on doing it Thursday. Keep an eye on my Twitter. I usually announce a little bit ahead of time. I also try to get more on top of announcing earlier. I've been announcing, like, hey, there's a podcast in 30 minutes. For those of you who just happen to be sitting around, and anyone else can't kind of plan around it. So, all right. Thanks, Jesse. It was a fun episode.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you guys for listening. As always, I'm your host, Force. So for Jesse, we'll see you next week. There's Jesse. You're supposed to say goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
So long.
Farewell.